Okay, what is this? This is the Polecat cast number 98 Aftershow. So, welcome to the show, bitches. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and we're going to be looking at this article. I'm sorry that, you know what, I should give you guys, if you want, I can give you the link, or I can just read it. I was going to read it anyway, but it is, I'll just give you the link so you can look at it whenever you want. Boop. And it is Dear Blokes and an Open Apology to Men. Dear Blokes. So I'm guessing I think this woman is from, she might be Australian or something? I'm not sure.
That's an Australian thing.
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember looking at this woman, with the person who wrote it. She is based in Australia. Vanessa DeLarge is a multi-award winning actress, author, and sex blogger based in Australia. Her most recent book, Don't Hit Me, is a #1 Amazon bestseller and has received accolades from around the globe. To learn more about Vanessa's work, visit her website. So I'm not going to do any of that. There's boobs on it, though, if you guys want to check it out. All right, so I'm going to head... Oh, welcome to the call, Mark. I'm trying to see if anybody else is coming. Normally we'd get Remy and Arweg and a couple of other people, but nobody's here. But shit. It's the wrong... That's why. It's in the wrong fucking... Hold on.
I think it was the right one.
No, there's another tier. There's another room I was supposed to put it in that I didn't.
Both tiers.
Yeah, I usually put it in both because I'm not sure which ones I'm not supposed to put them in. So I'm just gonna.
I think you're not supposed to put them in the one that you put them in first.
Oh.
No, I think it's renamed to say Polecat or Pole/cat cast. I think Allison fixed the tiers because they were originally backwards, I think. It could be wrong.
I have no idea. I just boosted up a tier yesterday, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was always confusing to me. I always put them in both because I'm not sure which ones I'm not supposed to put them in, so I just do it. There he is, Mr. 303. I haven't started the article yet, sir. I realized that I put the link in the wrong room. And there's Remy. See that now we got it. Now it's a party. Now we've got the peoples. All right. So the article I'm looking at, for those of you who are listening, is Dear Blokes, an Open Apology to Men. Dear Blokes, I am writing this letter to apologize for all the man-hating you receive on a daily basis. I honestly have no idea how you cope as well as you do. In recent years on social media, there's been a never-ending stream of vitriolic articles and commentary targeting you. It seems man-hating has become a socially accepted blood sport, and as the daughter of a wonderful father, this upsets me greatly. What happens to boys growing up amidst the vicious hatred? And what is it doing to our daughters? There is nothing courageous about raising a man-hater. We can raise kick-ass girls without destroying the male species in the process. Acclaimed British novelist and librettist Doris Lessing summed it up best before her death in 2013. She said, and I quote, "We have many wonderful, clever, powerful women everywhere, but what is happening to men? Why did this have to be at the cost of men? I was in a class of 9 and 10-year-olds, both girls and boys, and this young woman was telling these kids that the reason for wars was the innately violent nature of men. You could see the little girls fat with complacency and conceit, while little boys sat there crumpled, apologizing for their existence, thinking this was going to be the pattern of their lives. The teacher tried to catch my eye, thinking I would approve of this rubbish. This kind of thing is happening in schools all over the place, and no one says a thing. It has become a kind of religion that you can't criticize, because then you become a traitor to the great cause, which I am not. It is time we began to ask, who are these women who continuously rubbish men? The most stupid, ill-educated, and nasty woman, can rubbish the nicest, kindest, and most intelligent man, and no one protests. Men seem to be so cowed that they can't fight back, and it's time that they did." End quote. Before I move on, does anybody have any thoughts on that? I mean, I don't disagree.
I think someone's self-aware.
Yes, I think someone knows what's up.
Yeah, there's no denying that schools do teach this kind of crap, and it's kind of sad, and it's only been getting worse, especially in the public schools. I know from seeing, I have family, like nieces and nephews that are in the schools, and they've brought home stuff, and I've seen it. I'm like, what the heck? Like, really?
Yeah, I mean,
It's just terrible.
this academia is rife with this shit, and it's only getting it's actually getting more and more radical, it seems. Because I remember when I was in grammar school, this sort of thing wasn't as sort of prominent as it is these days. I wonder if that's not the case, but I'm just speaking from personal experience. All right.
As someone who lives in the South, I have no idea if it's more prominent or not more prominent, more radical, but it seems to be more common. I think that's the difference.
I see. Did we
I-
lose? I thought we lost somebody, but we didn't. Or maybe we did. I don't know. Okay. Well, thanks for pointing that out. Yes, I certainly believe that it's more common. Okay. Men are being emasculated. They are being stripped of their identities and biological natures. There doesn't seem to be a safe space for men to be men anymore. Humor isn't allowed. Nuance and allegory are prohibited. What liberty will the outraged police take away next? When a man does raise his voice in the current climate, he is either mocked, bullied, or labeled a mansplainer. He is basically unable to win. I want gender equality and sexual equality just as much as anybody else. But when the vigilantes attempt to achieve it via the degradation of men, my feathers get sweaty and ruffled, and I have to speak up. I am so proud to be the daughter of a beautiful gentleman. I am so proud to be the aunt of a beautiful nephew. I am so proud to have been the friend, colleague, and lover of numerous beautiful men. And with all that said, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I can't do more and affect change more regarding this man-hating issue that has spread like a disease throughout the world. I wish to close this letter with another quotation from Doris Lessing. There is an unconscious bias in our society. Girls are wonderful, boys are terrible. And to be a boy or a young man, growing up, having to listen to all of this, it must be painful. Best regards, Asha Med. I don't know if that's her name. I know her name is Vanessa DeLargy, so I don't know if Asha Med means something, but that was what she put down, so. Oh, her name. I'm sorry.
Ashamed. We're so used to seeing people
Foreign
with
names.
Islamic names.
Her name is
that
Ashamed.
Yeah.
That was the worst. I'm glad
Fragile.
Fragile, yes.
He's Italian.
Oops. I'm glad this is going up privately. I'll just put it that way.
We see Ahmed so much right now.
Yeah.
Ashamed doesn't seem to.
You know what? There is probably someone with that name in the world, and he's getting called ashamed.
Oh,
I'm sure.
I wouldn't be surprised. Actually, that would be funny. I think I'm going to find a way to incorporate that into a character, into a D&D character.
Because
there's...
Yeah.
Well, there's characters that... I mean, you can run a hooker now. So, run a hooker named Ashamed.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Have the DM require everyone to wear name tags?
There we go.
with their proper gender listed.
I identify as a fucking asshole.
I worked with somebody named Shatid, which was spelled Shitthead.
No, then there was Orangelo and Limangelo.
What?
Orange Jello and Lemon Jello.
Oh, okay. Orangelo and
Limangelo. And then there was a lady who thought the word was so beautiful that she'd give her daughter the name Chlamydia.
I remember that story.
And my grandmother was before she started her hospital, she was a obstetrics nurse in West Virginia, I think. She delivered a baby whose mother gave her the name of the train, the train route that the train was going by at the time the baby was born. So there was a child that was born prior to my parents' age, so may not still be alive, may still be alive in the world, named Erie Lackawanna.
What?
Erie Lackawanna and a last name.
Mm-hmm.
And people thought she was Native American.
Well, she could run as a Democrat.
There we go.
That's
My name
right.
is Erie Lackawanna.
Probably get elected.
Yeah.
Speaking
This
of which, go ahead.
This story though, this apology, the story she tells about this, like, this is a thing that I don't think happened as much in my son's school, but I've heard it from other people where they're going through classes where they are taught that just their masculinity inherently makes them bad people on the inside, and it's like an infection that has to be cured, and it's actually treated like an infection that has to be cured. And then the ideology that produces this line of thought and this line of teaching wants us to believe that their ideology is not about hating men. And I don't think they realize they are in the process right now of convincing a generation of men and boys that feminism is cancer. I think this is going to be feminism's last generation.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure. It seems like it's just going to rise into more of a social conflict than it already is. It's going to separate people instead of removing the issue. It's just going to polarize it more.
Well, feminism is like breaking already, though. This seems ever since intersectionality has been given rise, you've been seeing feminists eating each other, pretty much. Like the whole women's march thing with the pro-lifers being
But that
kicked
just
out.
makes them have to be more radical in order to fit in.
Yeah,
It does
but
kind of lead to the group eating itself. But I think what we're going to see is a very stark divide between the personal accountability-minded, libertarian-minded people, that to the point where other people will call libertarians anarchists, and the authoritative micromanaging types. And the authoritative micromanaging types will cling to social justice ideology. The regular Joes that are neither type, that are not only not like at the extreme end of libertarianism, but more just they don't care. They just want to be left alone. They just want to do their thing and let other people do their thing. They're gonna reject that. And then at the libertarian-minded people, as you get to the more extreme end, where it's like even functional law looks bad to them, they're going to resist it with every fiber of their being. And I think eventually the authoritarian types are, for the most part, going to get at least choked down to such a minority that they don't have any impact for a long time.
Well, if I remember correctly, that's the same pattern that happens at the end of every great empire.
Yeah. But I think in this situation, we may end up with ours becoming stronger simply because it was initially based on a more libertarian outlook and a less authoritarian outlook.
So what do you guys think? Do you think Brandon Wu's going to win and get into Congress?
I hope not. I mean,
I-
there's was somebody here making
Depends
the
on where
point,
she
or
runs.
that because she's running she'd be trying to upset a already Democrat controlled seat.
Yeah, isn't she running in Massachusetts?
Yeah.
Okay, she could win Massachusetts.
I think she'd have a better chance if she did it in New York or California.
Yeah, she definitely would have a strong chance in
Oregon,
California.
Oregon, running for the Portland section of Oregon.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right.
If she
Brianna
ran in
Wu
the
wins because of Portlandia vote. I could see it.
yeah, if she were to choose the right area, she'd be a shoo-in to win, and then we would have her entire political career as a lolcow. And the thing is, by herself, she's not gonna do much. She can get in there and she can be ridiculous, and we can laugh at her, and we can write to our representatives and say, "Don't give this idiot any ground. This idiot is a complete moron and does the following things, and here's the evidence against what she's asserting now," and that kind of thing. So even if she gets in, there'd have to be another several Brianna Wu's in there to get her way. But it could happen. She could get in.
That link I just sent is what I think of every time I think of Brianna Wu running.
Let's see.
This plays in my head over and over again.
They're all gonna laugh at you.
I'm actually hoping that she does win, because I think the comedy that will come out of that will be glorious. I don't think that she'll actually do much. I think that she thinks that position is far more prestigious than it really is, and that it will be. I think it will be evidence that what social justice warriors ultimately want is power over other people.
Yeah, I think she's going to realize that she's going to take her already untrustworthy position and just make it less trustworthy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't think she gets that yet.
She's running as a congressperson.
Yeah, she's running for
And
Congress.
she's running for a federal seat, not a state seat, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like-
that's
Like
Which
a
one?
representative, not a senator. Because senators are
Yeah.
more prestigious and more likely
senators-
to actually do stuff because you have 6 years to do stuff as opposed to having to worry about getting reelected every 2 years.
a Senate seat's harder to get too, because
Yeah.
like as a representative seat, you're only running in your district, but a senator seat, you're running statewide, and you're running against other people running for that same seat statewide, and so you're campaigning where there are both conservatives and liberals, and there are people with common sense who are going to look at you like. People with common sense are going to look at Brianna Wu and be like, "What the hell is this?"
But normally, for
Is this a
those
clown?
positions, well, for those positions, there's only like 2 or 3 people running.
Well, I've seen more contested races, especially in the primaries. But I'm in Ohio, and we can be pretty contentious here. So
Florida's a bit corrupt with our government.
yeah,
Sure.
We get
Jersey
like
is
3 people that run for every seat, and 2 of them just say, I don't really want it, and they don't really try and get it. They just give it to the other guy.
yeah.
New Jersey's a very blue state overall, but that's just North Jersey being the most densely populated part and having the entire vote. The south of the state is very red, but there's a lot less people down in the middle of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
That is one of the good things about living in Florida.
The thing that'll come out of Brianna Wu running for any political office is that she is, in order to promote herself, she's going to have to lie, because she doesn't have anything truthful that's going to be
Helpful.
prestigious or respectable enough to persuade people that they should vote for her. There
So
isn't
another
any. She doesn't
Tuesday-
have any selling points.
So just another Tuesday evening for her.
Yeah, basically. Only it's going to be a Tuesday evening out in public where everybody can see her ass hanging out, and it's going to be quite a spectacle, and it's going to be fun to poke holes in her stories publicly, and she isn't, because she's running for office. She's not going to be able to use "you called me a liar" to silence people. She might be able to use it still on Twitter. She might be able to use the abuse functions on Twitter to shut people up. But if she does that, it's going to make news media, and it's going to come back to bite her in the ass.
She's just going to have to call the other people liars harder, just like all the other politicians.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that she's capable of just playing that game.
Game of liars.
Yeah, she's going to, because like they have thicker skins, most of them. She doesn't. She has the thinnest of thin skins, and it's gonna be, there will be temper tantrums, there will be freakouts, there will be damseling extraordinaire, and she's also gonna have to deal with turfs and other people who um, will attack her for being transgender, because she'll make that an issue too.
I actually think her skin is just like a few nanometers short of the thinnest, because from what I hear, at times she's actually reasonable.
Yeah, it's what's gonna be fun is like when she starts pulling that shit, that's when you start tweeting links to descriptions of narcissistic personality disorder. Don't actually, like just tweet the disorder itself. Don't make any direct accusation. Brianna Wu is this, just nope. Respond to her temper tantrums with links to the symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder and to descriptions of other people with narcissistic personality disorder who have the same behavior as she has, a description of what a Darvo attack is, stuff like that. And never say Brianna Wu is narcissistic. Never say it exactly outright, and she will freak the fuck out. You almost guarantee it. You're talking about me. I didn't say that.
Never run out of content.
Yeah, do you recognize yourself in this? Is that why you're accusing me of talking about you? Just totally play innocent.
Mm-hmm.
What's the term? Guilty conscience?
Yep.
See what else is going on in the world. There was something that Bunny and I might do this weekend. It's a Psychology Today article called "Internet Gaming Disorder in DSM-5, a disorder for further study." Yeah.
Oh Jesus.
So I haven't looked at it too much, but apparently it makes the claim. It says internet gaming disorder is a condition for further study in the DSM-5. This means that it's not an official disorder on the DSM, but one on which the American Psychiatric Association requests additional research. Upon further research, the APA may or may not decide to make the disorder official in future editions of the DSM.
To be fair, caffeine addiction is also a to be investigated thing. So,
you know what? They need to investigate the possibility that excessive gameplay, to the degree that it interferes with other aspects of your life, might be a manifestation of an existing behavior wherein the individual uses trivial pursuits of all kinds to distract themselves from responsibilities that they don't want to deal with at the moment. I'm supposed to call the doctor and make an appointment to get a mammogram. Mammograms hurt. I don't like mammograms. I'm going to play this game instead. I'm going to go clean out my sock drawer. I'm going to sort my books into alphabetical order and categories at the same time. I don't want to call and set up a mammogram. That hurts. That happens. People do that all the time. People don't clean their room because they want to go to the movies. People don't, that's not abnormal.
And it's just easy to take shots at gamers.
Yeah, the fact that when it manifests in gaming, all of a sudden it's the game's fault.
Yeah, I wrote a paper in high school about that violence doesn't cause, or video game violence doesn't actually influence people, and that video games can have some positive effects in terms of teaching people how to critically think and such. But
yeah, I think I'm more in line with this guy. You guys know who Gabor Mate is? GABORMATE. Well,
you've mentioned that name before.
Yeah, he's looked at Vietnam veterans, right? And but basically his theory is addiction is by and large not actually something that is created by the substance, but it is something that is in the user of that comes from childhood trauma in the user of said substance. So he makes the case for it. Yeah, well, I'm not saying it's 100% on, but I think that what he's saying is what he was using as an example was there were these Vietnam veterans, and they were all given, essentially they were given heroin to deal with the pain for injuries and trauma and stuff like that, right? And of all of the guys that were on heroin, because that was what we were using at the time, only 5% of them actually became addicted to it. And despite like the amount of use they got. Oh, this is my dog was poking me in the ribs. Despite, how much of it they use and stuff. And what he was basically saying is that not just drug addiction and alcohol addiction, but all forms of addiction, that would be sex addictions, masturbation addictions, porn addictions, gambling addictions, smoking, caffeine, eating, and so on, will have a link to some kind of childhood trauma. And where he gets that from is essentially the theory is this. Everyone has let's say, just for the sake of simplicity, you have a happiness level of 100 if you have if you come from a stable family and you weren't abused as a child and you didn't have to experience a bunch of traumatic shit for a kid. If your happiness level is at 100, which is basically having a healthy childhood, if you try a drug, whether it's marijuana or if you drink alcohol or you start, let's say, I don't know, you even do cocaine, okay? You'll get a high, so your happiness level goes up beyond 100 for a while, and then you come down and you're basically at 100 again. And then you basically come to the realization that you don't need it. Basically, you're just like, oh, well, this is nice, but I don't need this. If you have a really bad childhood, like you've been through divorces or you've been, you were abused or whatever, if you have problems from your childhood, then your likely happiness level is lower. And when you use a substance or gamble or eat or whatever it is, it brings you back to what other people consider to be normal. And you basically go there for a while, and then when you crash, you go even a little bit below your normal happiness level, and so the only way to feel normal again is to get your hands on the substance again. Anyway, he wrote a book on it, so I'm not really doing a great justice to it, but I think it's another way to maybe at least explore this. I'm not saying that it's the answer, but I think that there is. He makes a pretty decent case.
I think it's another instance of nature versus nurture.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the book is... let me see if I can look at his books here. It might be In the Realm of Hungry Ghosts. Yeah, which is a book about addiction. He's also written about stress and attention deficit disorder. And
which is now being thought of being put under the autism spectrum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and there's other problems with attention deficit disorder too. I was just talking to a friend about that. Children who are actually exhibiting symptoms of other disorders from the anxiety, mood swing spectrum, but who haven't exhibited the symptoms you expect from adults, often get diagnosed with ADD when they are actually bipolar or borderline or even schizophrenic at sometimes, and they go through years of being labeled ADD and not receiving proper treatment because of this mislabeling. Because everybody suspects or everybody expects these other disorders to not manifest until adolescence, and so you end up with a child who has symptoms that are being ignored because they don't fit into the existing ADD diagnosis. And as they get older and they start manifesting those symptoms more and more, the parents don't understand why their ADD is getting worse, and they keep taking them back to the doctor and they keep screwing around with their ADD medicines and everything, and the kid doesn't get help until they reach adulthood, go to a doctor on their own and start talking about their other symptoms on their own, and the doctor says, well, your ADD has morphed into this other thing. Well, no, it was this other thing all the time, and they were just misdiagnosed.
Well, I was diagnosed with ADHD at the age of 6, and then I'm currently 21, and earlier last year I found out, I actually have Asperger's, and it was entirely misdiagnosed.
Yeah, and see, I have a nephew that has something had something similar. It was bipolar, and he was diagnosed ADD, and it really didn't help him.
No, all it does is it confuses you when the symptoms start changing whenever you hit puberty.
Yeah, yeah, and it confuses everybody. And my friend's kid is exhibiting symptoms of another disorder as well, and I'm recognizing them because I this is one of the things that I've studied, on my own. And she's miserable, and she's going through all kinds of shit, and she's putting herself and her family through all kinds of shit, and they keep trying to treat the ADD, and it looks like it's really not ADD. And all of them, things could get better for all of them if they got the right diagnosis and the right treatment plan, and she wouldn't have to be miserable, and she wouldn't be she's abusing her mother right now, and she's doing it in a very similar way to the way I did when I was a teenager. And I'm looking at this going, this is not attention deficit. So I ended up talking to my friend about it, and suggesting that she keep a journal of activities and behaviors and triggers and what sets off, what results from them and everything, and take that into the doctor and say, we have a suspicion that the childhood diagnosis was incorrect.
An even better idea is to take it to a completely new doctor, so they don't have any idea.
Existing bias.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is a situation where, the kid doesn't have to be going through this, and the family doesn't have to be going through this, and it's not fair to anybody to be loyal to a particular diagnosis just because that's the first thing they landed on. Mm-hmm. I mean, hell, my first diagnosis for the mental stuff was depression. And that was way off. I had depression because of other things, but it certainly wasn't the big picture.
Yeah, I went through several years where I was trying to figure out if I actually had ADHD, because with ADHD, you normally are hyper and have attention problems. I had the exact opposite issue. Once I hit puberty, I stopped having energy, and I stopped being able to stop focusing on what I was doing.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, do I have, what in the world is going on? And it wasn't until, well, actually, whenever, like in January of last year, you guys started talking about autism and stuff, and I was like, wait, I actually don't know anything about this, and that's when I figured out what I had.
Yeah. And I see with me, when I was growing up, I have a very strong suspicion that I'm on the autism spectrum, just at the very high functioning end of it. And I have a very strong suspicion that if the Asperger's diagnosis had existed when I was in school, that's probably what I would have been given, but it didn't. There was no label for that. You didn't get diagnosed with autism unless you were more extreme. You had to be closer to Rain Man.
Well, as far as I know, with women, the manifestation of autism is completely different than with men.
Yeah, yeah.
I couldn't even find what the differences were. I just know, because no one's really entirely sure where the differences stop. And so they can't really diagnose women very easily. So.
Yeah. But one of the things that I looked at was, I don't have the social behavior that women generally have. I chit chat like women, sort of, but I don't have a lot of the other, I don't crave the company of other women, specifically because they're women. I don't have to have a female in group to feel comfortable, and it's apparently that's highly abnormal. And I don't know if it's because it was shamed out of me when I was in school and the other girls couldn't relate to me. I wasn't connecting with them, or if it's just not naturally part of my personality. But
back to the nature versus nurture.
Yeah. And I mean, there might be all kinds of reasons for that, but I know that my parents, when I was really little, thought I was autistic because of behaviors that I exhibited. And because they weren't dramatic, and it wasn't that I didn't exhibit the right behaviors to get diagnosed, it's that I didn't exhibit them dramatically enough. And so that sort of tells me, and then I have that little encyclopedia aspect of Asperger's that they describe kids with Asperger's as little encyclopedias. I sat down and read the damned encyclopedia for fun. And my dad was like, "You're not going to retain it reading it like that. Look up things you're interested in and read about those. Don't go cover to cover."
Well, what do you think they're doing?
Yeah. Well, I was interested in all of it, but there were things I retained more of and things I retained less of, and and I used them in different ways and everything. And like when I got into the right to life discussion and people started talking about pregnancy development as though it was a lump of clay forming itself in belly.
Then you mention at 21 weeks they can start to feel things, and they go, "What?"
Yeah, I start describing, and I'm using blastocyst and blastoderm and all these other, this is what it's called at this stage, and this is what happens, and all this other stuff, and the other kids are like, "Nerd!" That's their answer. "Well, I believe this." "Well, this isn't true because science." "Nerd!" It didn't go over well.
I am a wealth of useless trivia.
Yes. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Like I know that an elephant has a 5-foot dick and it has muscle control, so it can actually wiggle it around
Just a little
in the
bit.
shape of an S.
And I know that I know that pearls are actually just a form of cancer tissue on a clam.
Yeah. Tumors.
Yeah.
I'm wearing tumors on your, which makes it hilarious that in belief systems where they attribute psychic energy characteristics to gemstones, pearls are supposed to be good for treating inflammation. And I read that and I was like, "Oh my God, these people must have known something." Sympathetic magic. But yeah, it just. So I looked at that situation with the diagnosis and everything, and it's like, well, maybe this is not right, and maybe you need to get another opinion because it's miserable to go through this right now, and it's not fair to anybody.
Well, I think I need to wrap it up for myself.
Yeah.
I got to run some errands and stuff, but I want to thank you guys. And let me end the recording here. So this wraps it up for the after show stream. Thanks for coming.